Hi, and welcome to episode 164 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, March 19th, 2017. Welcome to spring. Spring officially comes tomorrow, but for me, it came on Thursday because I saw my first robin. I'd heard them for at least a week before that, but I saw one on Thursday. So for me, that means that it's spring. No matter what happens in the weather after that, it's spring. So I have some knitting to show you and some finished sewing to show you. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about things like upcoming things. But let me start out with what I've been knitting on the last couple of weeks. And I showed this to you the last time because it was the first Sunday of the month. But since that time, I have basically only worked on this project. And that is my blue shimmer bohus. 2 weeks ago, I had just kind of completed everything but the edges, the cuffs and the bottom band and the, button bands and things. And I told you I was going to experiment a little bit and try to figure out what I wanted to use. I didn't have a really clear idea, and I tried some Japanese stitch patterns. I tried some, twisted stitch patterns, some kind of lacy ones, like a little smocking one. And, they were all pretty. They just kind of weren't right for this. And so what I ended up with doing was this sort of little cable pattern, and I'm really happy with it. It just what I often like to do is try to find something in the patterning of the yoke to sort of use for inspiration or kind of like tie it together. And this yoke, I always see these like round circles up here and down here. And so for this one, it has the cables that kind of do that too. And so anyway, it took a while to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. So I have both the cuffs done, and then I am working on the bottom band of that. I'll tell you, I had the entire bottom band in the front because I did this with seams down the side, and I had the entire front finished. And somehow when I was kind of finishing the length of the body, I don't know, I just got that measurement wrong. And because this has the cables, what I want to do is, for the button band, I do them vertically. So I want to put one at the little cable here and the little cable here. So I have to have that spacing just right. It's the same thing that happened with this one, except I got it right the first time. This one, I didn't get the spacing right. And luckily, I figured it out before I did the button band. So anyway, long story short, I had to take the bottom band off and recalculate yesterday, and recalculate to make sure I got it right. And now I'm putting it on, and I'm really only this far because I couldn't sleep last night, and so I just got up and sat and knit for a long time. So there were a couple days where I didn't sort of knit at all because I kind of hurt my back and couldn't sit up. I could lay down, but I couldn't sit up, so I couldn't knit at all. So there were a few days that I had to take off, but that has been my knitting. We'll do a quick like off the needles because this is my black bohus. This is Forest Darkness bohus, and I'm not sure if I have actually worn this on the podcast since I finished it last summer, kind of right like the night before I left for knitting camp, and I think I showed it, but I don't know that I was actually wearing it. But I wore it this morning, and like when I take this out, I really love this one, kind of almost more than all the rest of them. I did the kind of a twisted stitch pattern in it last summer. And you can't hardly see it anymore because it's the fluffy Angora has bloomed. But anyway, I love the buttons that I got at Jenny's. And for blue shimmer, I'm thinking I will just put some buttons on so that I can maybe wear it still this spring. And then I will take it with me when I go to Rochester this summer and see what I can find at Jenny's. Maybe there'll be, I'm sure there'll be better ones there. So that was my thinking with that. But I am also wearing, you can see, the dress that I think I was in the works of doing the last time I recorded. And this is just a little kind of a summery sundress. I found that I was pulling out a bunch of different of my boho sweaters to sort of compare them lengthwise and things. This dress was hanging up and I went, those kind of go together. So I wore this morning. But this is just the little kind of dress that I was using for a wearable muslin that was to sort of see if I could get the full bust adjustment to work. And I do feel like it's better. It's certainly better than the butterfly dress. Girls can breathe a little bit better. This one I didn't do. This is the dress that the pattern has to do piping around the armholes and the neckline. And I didn't do it on this one. And it feels like it gapes a little bit, which I don't remember on the butterfly dress it doing that. So I don't, that piping is pretty firm. So maybe that's why like firmed it up more. But anyway, this is good enough for what it is. Just a kind of a quick little, thing that I can, throw on. Very casual kind of a dress. There is one thing that I want to change. I wore it this morning and I've decided that, I just kind of put up the hem and then I didn't try it on afterwards. And I feel like the hem is just a touch too long. It's kind of annoying to have to like rip it down. It's not hard. It won't be difficult or that time consuming, but it is lined, so I have to change the hem and the lining too. But like maybe even only as much as like 3/4 of an inch, I want to change it. But it's just in that sort of like middle ground where it's not. It's just kind of below your knees. It makes it look a little kind of dowdy, looking. So either like you want it like long, or like at like at my knee or a little bit above. So that will have to be changed, but that won't be too difficult. So I finished this dress. This is the one I used. I had some lining fabric that I hadn't ever used before. It was the Bemberg kind of rayon lining, that kind of very slippery stuff. That stuff is slippery, let me tell you, but it feels really nice. It's sewed together, quite nicely. I didn't do a whole lot of for seam finishing on the cotton. I did just turned over the edge. For the Bemberg, I just pinked those seams because I don't know. It seemed like it was enough. And let's see what else. It was a little slippery to sew when I did the princess seams with the lining. I basted them first just to make sure like things didn't like shift, because when you do that full bust adjustment, there is more of a curve to that, princess seams. This dress, I did not do anything, try to match side seams, anything on it at all. As much as I matched things on the pink dress, I matched nothing on this. And I would have needed a lot more fabric if I wanted to. I think that the repeat was something like, I measured it was something like 9 by 12 inches. So I would have needed a lot more fabric. And for what this was, just a wearable muslin, I'm fine with it. So that was this. And I did finish my couture dress also. I wore it actually last week. So because I knew I wasn't going to record a whole podcast, I really didn't have hardly any knitting to show for last week. So, but I did want to show it to you with me wearing it at least once. So I did sit down like very quickly and just like recorded a little thing. So let me show you that here, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more about it. Just a quick little update. I only have about 5 minutes before I have to leave for church, but I wanted to show you the couture dress while I was wearing it. I hurried and finished it yesterday because I knew the weather was going to be kind of colder and this dress would be sort of weather appropriate. So let me stand up quick. Okay, so here it is. Let me take my sweater off so that you can see it without any. So it is sleeveless. I was able to pull up the underarms a little bit so it feels like it fits okay. And then here's the back. I have the hand-picked zip. The lining is silk crepe de chine. I have a little like sample left, and that's about the color it is. It's about kind of the medium pink color in the plaid. And I could get used to this. It was so nice. It feels so nice on, and it was so nice to sew with. It's you know, thin and slippery, but it has a little bit of sort of graininess to it, so it was really nice to sew with. I sewed most of the lining in yesterday, and you did it in 3 pieces, kind of the skirt and then the bodice and then the midriff kind of went over everything. So all of the inside, all that messy stuff inside is all hidden. I did a different kind of hem treatment than I've ever done before. This has a jump pleat hem, which is kind of like when you have a winter coat. That's like the sleeves of your winter coat, or like pencil skirts, that it's kind of sewn down and like folded back, and you sew it kind of a half an inch away. That's my phone. So I did a jump pleat hem, which was different. It's the kind you have like in a winter coat sleeve or a pencil skirt, where it is kind of sewn back farther, so there's a little play in the lining. But it's completely sewn down, so you can't get to that inside stuff at all. There are a few things, I'll be honest, there are a few things that need to be done still. I have to do the understitching along the armholes, and that is for is to keep the lining from sort of kind of edging out so that you can see it. It keeps it so it's like in. And I sewed on this for about 12 hours yesterday, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I just didn't want to sew anymore. And I knew I was going to wear a sweater with it so I could get away without that being on there. And I was going to put a hook and eye at the back, at the top of the zip this morning, and I went to go do that. And I have all these little cards. I knew that they were in the sewing kind of bench for the sewing machine. And there are all these old cards from my mom that say 15 cents on them. And there were all eyes and no hooks, because you could do a hook and eye and just do like a thread bar instead of doing the metal eye. And so I will stop at Joann's on the way home from church and get another thing of those and finish that up. But I knew, again, sweater, and I'm secure in the zipper. I handpicked the zipper, so I'm secure that there's not going to fall apart or something. But anyway, it's finished. I got it finished. By and large, I'm pretty happy with it. It, has, a few issues, and fit things are, like I said last week, are the hardest, but anyway, I wanted to show you. I have it like on the hanger so that you can see that lining, and like it's so much nicer having all of that messy stuff kind of all covered up. I don't know if that's going to show up. I did understitch around, and I did the hand pick zipper. I'm really pleased with it. This one turned out, I feel like, just perfect. I love it. Has, you have to sort of get them so that they sort of dome up a little bit, because then when you wear, you wear something, it like pulls across it more. But I'm so pleased with how, like, the top, you don't see the zipper pull. There's the zipper pull in there, but you don't see that at all. And that was something really important that I learned from the Susan Caldry class, about arcing the top of the zipper back so that you don't ever see, like, the zipper pull is like hidden in there. So I was really pleased with that, and I thought I'll show you, since I have it off, I can show you what I was talking about with the jump pleat. So here you can see it's like folded back, so it's sewn down here, and then when it's folded, it's, you've got a nice like coverage, so that when you like sit down in the dress, it's got like room to move, but it doesn't, hang out the bottom, but you've still got like a nice, it moves when you're wearing it. And that's how, when you have a coat jacket on, it does that. So I am extremely pleased with kind of everything, like how this like was put together and like finished. I did finish up sewing the understitching of the sleeves, and I did the hook and eye. Oh, and I did little bra carriers, they're called. So I can show you those. It's, like, you might have had a dress that had it, and it's got like a little chain and just a little, what I always think of as Barbie snaps, and so that you're just put that around your bra. And what this is, the thread is, it's kind of like when you do like a Navajo ply and spinning, but you just do that with a doubled thread. So it makes it nice and strong. And the dress itself is heavy. It's still heavy, but it was okay once I had it on. But it's warm. So I wore it to church last inside. It was warm with that on. Was like fanning myself, and I'm not usually warm in there. So, and it definitely has that feeling of, when you've got a suit jacket on, you have that very sort of structured feeling where it's like harder to slouch or something. You're just like very sort of structured, and you stand up straight. It has that sort of a feeling to it, which I am not a huge fan of. I'm a sweater girl. I like to wear sweaters. I never liked wearing, like full suits, like with jacket and skirt kind of suit. And this dress I had hanging also when I was taking all the bohus out. And my egg bohus, which is the white one, it has like yellows in the collar, but it has a couple little rows of pink, and they're the exact same shade of pink. It looks fantastic with that. So I might have to wear that one more time. But anyway, those are my two finished sewing. And I want to thank all of you for kind of sticking with me through the process of doing the couture dress. I know if you're not a sewer, you're like, this is really boring. I've come here for the knitting. But I felt like it was a different enough process that it might be interesting, doing all the handwork and just the whole different process. I kind of did this, and then I did the couture, like outer shell and of all of that. And then I did the entire of this dress in entirety. And then I went back to the couture method to do the lining. And it was interesting when I laid out the lining to, start to cut it out. And you had to like switch back. No, this is stitching line, not cutting line, like on like a regular, like you would regularly do. It was, like all about stitching. And I almost didn't have enough fabric because um, when I bought the original fabric, I think I was going to do a different pattern for the Craftsy class, and then I decided, no, I will go on. I will do the one that she's working on. And I had bought extra because it was a plaid, small plaid, but I didn't know. So I had plenty of the outer fabric. And then I decided not to do, put sleeves on it and stuff. So when I went to order the lining fabric, it's silk crepe de chine, and I didn't want to overbuy and get a ton extra because it's expensive. And so I just looked on the back of the pattern envelope to see the what it took for a dress, without the sleeves. And there was that little bit that I raised the back, but I thought, well, that won't take a ton. So I just ordered the 2 yards that it said on the back of the pattern envelope. And so I laid it out and started putting the muslin pieces on there and thought, I'm not going to have enough fabric. So I had never even looked in the inside of that pattern, the directions, because I just followed kind of the procedure that Susan Kalji did. So I took the instruction thing out so that how did they lay it out? Because that's what it called for on the back. How did they lay it out so that they got the 2 yards to go? And, because I knew I had raised that back, but I hadn't thought about that the whole midriff band in the front and the back, I had put all those pieces together. So in the front, as the pattern was done, they were 4 separate little pieces, and I had put them all together to make one. And the same in the back, I had just the 2 pieces for each side. So, and they're done on the bias. So when you've got 4 little pieces, you can kind of fit them in, around the opening of the neck, and you can fit them more places. And so I almost thought I was going to have to order more, but I kind of worked it out so that it was, fine, because I had, I didn't need those really big seam allowances on the lining, so I got it worked out. By and large, I'm really happy with the process. I really enjoyed the process of the couture dress. I don't know that I would do it on all of the dresses. It wouldn't pay to do it, for something like this, but I may do it for the Liberty fabric, the pink feather fabric that I have. I'm going to do that, I'm pretty sure, as a couture dress, but not using Susan Kalji's method, using the Alice Smith method, which kind of the sewing part of it is the same. They still have the underlining, and you catch stitch the seam allowances down and all of that. But Alice Smith sort of just cuts out the underlining and the fashion fabric, and then just kind of puts them together. She doesn't do the tracing with the wax tracing paper and all of that. And I wanted to use her method for the feather fabric because I want to try it, just to see, it won't have the great big seam allowances. I don't think I will need them for that fabric. It was a blessing to have it for this fabric. I had those 2-inch, wide seam allowances, and honestly, some of them, on some of the curves and things, they frayed down to about an inch. So, I really needed that. And when I, stitched those down, I, cut them to an inch, and then it laid on the table and I sewed it down. So it was a blessing to have them for that. But for just the cotton fabric, I don't feel like I would need that. And the other thing, that fabric is so lightweight and so light colored that even if I used kind of the white tracing paper to mark the underlining, I think it would show through that really light weight fabric, cotton Liberty fabric, because you do have to mark the grain lines on the underlining so that you get it lined up, on your, dress fabric. And so that would be sort of right in the middle of a piece or whatever. So I don't think that, would be a good idea for that really light fabric. And then it gives me a chance to try the other method. You still, base them together and things, but you don't have those kind of big seam allowances. So I want to give that a try. I am getting kind of excited for, the garden of next for this year. I think I want to do a fairy garden. If you have a fairy garden, please let me know, and kind of how you started and how you plan. A fairy garden, if you're not a gardener, it's kind of everything on a really small scale. Kind of little tiny plants, ones that have little tiny leaves, and a lot of people put like little paths with pebbles, and it's like a whole little scene miniaturized. So it just looks like really kind of fun, and so I think I might want to try one of those. Um, so anyway, if you have one, I would love to see pictures of it and just hear how you got started with it. Anyway, I hope you all have a really good couple of weeks, and until I see you next time, from my heart to yours, happy knitting!